to a brand new Elite Request video. Yes, episode 2. And I'm going to try to knock out majority of the Elite Request questions. Back in June, we had a brand new Elite perk where they could ask any question and I would make a video out of that question. And we received about a dozen questions. And we created one video already, and this is going to be part 2 of that video. So without further ado, really quick before we jump into it, I just want to give a quick shout out to Jamari, Francine, and Ace. Let's go! Yes, I said I would give them a shout out on the Facebook page, and well, here we are. So thank you all so much for the support. And I thought about making this a weekly type event where I'm going to be giving out shout outs every single week just to show how much I appreciate you guys and gals in the comments when it comes to everything Hero Clash related. So in the comments below, if you want a shout out, let me know in the comments. Yes. Okay, so here we go. Moving on to the Elite request we have is first, he says, pet dragon advantages and disadvantages priority. Must reach levels for important abilities gained. Leveling order for PvP/PvE. Now, as you can see, this is a very loaded question, so I'm just going to deep dive into the dragons really quick. I don't want to spend 10 minutes on one topic, but I'll give you the cliff notes. So if you go over to the Evergreen Garden and then you go, and you go over to pets, as you can see, I have all of mine maxed out at 150. However, as a brand new player, it's very easy to, unlock one, rank it up, unlock the second one, rank it up a little bit, unlock the third one, and then, slowly rank it up. However, I recommend working on 1 or 2 at a time. And the question is, which one do you choose? Really quick, before we move on, I just want to say, when you reset any of these pets or dragons, whatever you want to call them, you do not lose resources. You pretty much can reset them 1,000,000 times and move any resource around to any dragon or anywhere you want in the game, and you will not lose those resources when resetting a pet. I see that question pop up a lot in the community, so here we go. Now, overall, I would say Boreas is absolutely phenomenal. I think he's the go-to. However, there are very, very specific scenarios where you could use Tiamat, however you say his name, and then Bahamut. I don't know how to pronounce these names. You guys know what I'm saying, and y'all can see what I'm saying as well. But now it all comes down to, what do these dragons do? It all comes down to your strategy. These dragons will only amplify your current strategy. So if you have a crappy strategy, you're going to have a crappy amplification. If you have a great strategy, you're going to have a great amplification when it comes to these pets, aka dragons. Really quick, I will talk about this in the future of this video, but when it came to defeating Exodia, I used a pure damage reduction / Banshee / Destruction Eye combo. And I use the blue dragon that gives armor and HP, etc., because that would amplify my damage reduction strategy. It's all about knowing what these dragons do and how you can use them against your enemy and how they can help and benefit your team. Now, really quick, moving on to each one. Here we go. Moving on to Boreas. As you can see, launch 6 attacks. He does damage. Reduces the enemy's max HP by 2% for each attack, not to exceed 1,000,000 max HP. And then for every 3 attacks, As you can see, I think he's a perfect dragon to use when it comes to wanting to knock out someone or a PvE team in the first few rounds, right? And then at the end, it says, when the enemy receives 6 attacks, deal additional damage equal to 5% of its HP, and damage should not exceed 2,000,000. So if it does max out, you're doing 2,000,000 damage with Boreas. It's absolutely phenomenal, especially if a hero has, 20, 30 million health. Well, there goes, 3, 5, 7, 9%, depending on what their HP is at that time. And it's extremely crucial because, round 2, round 3, you never know. That hero might just have 3 or 4 million HP left, and Boreas is about to cut in half, which is very, very crucial. So all the dragons are good. It just really comes down to who you're going against, what their strategy is, and how can you counter that strategy. Now, when it comes to Boreas, he does have a small counter, and that is going to be Tiamat. Now, Tiamat provides HP and increases in, I believe, shields, right? Or HP. Where's it at? Healing effect. No, armor. Just kidding. It's armor. Where's it at? Yep. Armor by 30% for 2 turns. However, on the flip side, look at Boreas. As you can see, where are you at? Yeah, here we go. In the middle here, it says deal 2% of their max HP and bonus damage, reduce their armor by 30%. So they pretty much kind of counter each other. Like I said, it all comes down to the strategy. Now, moving on to the final dragon, Bahamut, whatever his name is. Restores all allies attack by 15% and crit by 10% for 2 turns. Extremely crucial if you just want to attack, crit, armor pin, aka Porcelina, Sophia, Phoenix, Geo, etc. And there's not really main teams you can, put these dragons on, simply because you just don't know who your enemy is, especially talking to the camera, talking to you guys right now. There's no enemy team to look at and be like, okay, I would make X, Y, and Z. I would need to see a team before you can make a fair assessment. Okay, now moving on to the next elite request we have is from 9607. I would like to request content for best lineup with Natalie, Phoenix, Fagin, and the other S plus and S heroes. Now, this is definitely a loaded question, so I won't be able to knock this out completely in this video. However, it all comes down just to your mind frame and what you know. It all comes down to your reading the battlefield abilities, looking at your enemy, looking at who the enemy team is, and seeing. Always ask yourself, when you look at an enemy team, what is this team trying to accomplish? Obviously win, but how? How is this team trying to beat me? Once you figure that out, then it just comes down to how can you counter that, right? Don't just throw heroes in and try to get lucky. Now, that's not fun. Well, maybe it is fun to you, but not fun to me. I'm all about chess, not checkers. And when it comes to, specific heroes such as Natalie, Phoenix, and Fagin, it really just comes down to if you're a free-to-play or pay-to-play player. Sorry, there's just a huge difference. And when it comes to Arsenal Episode 1, I actually talked about this just for a little bit in the brand new free-to-play series called Arsenal. And Episode 2, 3, and 4, we're actually going to deep dive into the free-to-play mindset when it comes to the future of Hero Clash, when it comes to who I create, who I upgrade to level 31, who I get to 9 or 18 legendary relics, aka maybe 9 mythic relics on my free-to-play account, because on a free-to-play account, you're really on that straight line and you really can't cherry pick that much. So you have to be very, very crucial on what you choose to do as a free-to-play player. Now, with a pay-to-play player, you can I have everything. And just to add more knowledge to the flame, there's some heroes out there that are both offense and defense, and depending on how you build them, makes them extremely powerful, especially like Natalie. From an offensive perspective, you could make her shred at the end of round 1. If you feed energy into her, you have Vital on, and, with HP runes, and you have super, increased attack. I'm talking, she's in line with the Holy Horn. And then, the energy feeds into her. She unleashes her first attack with Natalie herself, getting 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 million damage, which increases her sparks. And at the very end of that battle, based on what, sparks are left over from, her being attacked and stuff, then you have the demon comes out and it's just pure attack. You could probably do 20, 30, 40 million damage on that first enemy with, a division of 2 on the other enemies. And that's just an offensive perspective. And then coming from a defensive perspective, you could do the exact same thing, but you could put the Phantom runes on her. So if someone does target Natalie, maybe the Phoenix might hit her or something, most of that damage could be absorbed by Phantom, preserving those sparks for the end of the round. So it all depends on your knowledge of the hero and what you have in the bag, what you have in the arsenal, Moving on to Yang Panda's question. I'd like to see a video of you explaining all the things you can find in Hero Clash to improve on. Maybe possibly make a post on Facebook, ask people to comment their pet peeves with the game. Eventually I will. I've made a few videos just giving the devs advice. Like 9-10 months ago, I told them about they should create a quarterly Crucible, and now we have the Eternal Crucible thingy, whatever it's called, and just saying. Could be a coincidence, but I highly doubt it. But I do have a video coming warning the devs of what's to come in the future, and I guess I can just take that video and combine it with your idea, and we'll make it a whole elite request. How about that? Episode 3 will be the beating of a dead horse. Stay tuned for that. Eddie says, I like to see a video on counter heroes for top heroes like Sophia and Porcelina. Again, this is another loaded question. It just comes down to what kind of build Sophia Porcelina is. What that means is it comes down to actually 2 things. 1, what's in your bag? What's in the arsenal? What do you have cooking in your kitchen, right? And then 2 is, do you know how to use those utensils in your kitchen? Are you going to grab a spoon to cook a steak? Are you going to grab a fork to eat a bowl of cereal? It all comes down to how you use your bag, your arsenal, aka artifacts, runes, etc., right? So it's all about knowledge. There's right now with the new Berserk rune coming out, Sophia and Porcelaina are going to be extremely powerful. And the issue with Porcelaina is you really can't stun her or anything. And I've even tried, I even tried to entangle her and hit her with Olila, and I just can't get the job done. So, debuff is out of the question. So, from my perspective, it won't even come down to shields because she's just too strong. She just kicks and punches too much. So I think it's going to come down to speed. I think the counter for Porcelaina will be a faster, not necessarily stronger, but maybe a faster Sophia. And to go with speed, you also have good old Ruthkarv, which I will talk about later on in this episode. However, he's a really good hero because he has certain properties that really do benefit Porcelaina or Sophia or whatever team he's on. And if you set that hero up correctly, then you could definitely absorb a lot of damage from the enemy team. And that just might give you the boost to be able to attack next, especially if you don't go first, and to get the dub. Like I said, there's millions and millions of combinations and strategies, etc. It just all comes down to what you know, who you're going against, and how to counter their strategy. And then when you have that new goddess hero who gives, at 9 legendary relic, she gives 45 speed and 45% attack. It really is going to come down to speed. I think Hero Class is just going in this cyclic pattern of counter versus counter. And yeah, so right now we're at the point where I truly believe the answer is speed. Obviously, you do have other small strategies out there, and there's a lot more information that goes into this. But like I said, I'll be here for an hour just going over every single thing. But in the future, man, we'll definitely deep dive into it. I'll have visuals and everything. Moving on to a need for a name. A person would like to see an in-depth guide on hero combos, combining certain heroes together that have good synergies. In depth, look at the stat breakdown, speed, attack, etc. that make these combos work. Okay, so I'm all about giving credit where credit is due. And I'm going to mention this. There's a guy in the Crucible who took out my nemesis. I was shook. And this guy, Leos, he had a strategy that I really didn't think of. My strategy, and so I just want to walk you through what he did. So that Crucible has long ended. It's been, 2 weeks now? And just to give you, we'll use this. How about this? Okay, let's go to challenge. Okay, and then we'll use, is there a button to get rid of all these? Okay, wait. Let's just do it. Okay, here we go. So his enemy, and I don't remember the exact order. I think it was this, and this is one form of Exodia. Something like that. Who was it? I think it was the Kitty Cat at the time. And who else was it? The Kitty Cat was down here. There was someone else. Who was it? I don't know who it was. Oh, it had been Geo. So I'm pretty sure this was somewhat of his combo, and he shredded like no other. He's number 1 in the Crucible. Congrats to him. And Leos came in with, now I don't remember it verbatim, but I'll remember how it ended. And it ended off with, I'm pretty sure it was Porcelaina. I'm pretty sure it was no, where's Porcelaina at? It was a similar combo, but he had this. However, on Ruthkarv was, where's Ruth at? Where's Ruth? I'm jacking this all up. I wish I would have recorded it, man. I really wish I would have recorded it. It was so beautiful. I remember just sitting here watching it for calamities. I was just sitting here watching, like, I know did he just do that? Long story short, he ended up purchasing and maxing out the Devil Shield. Now, personally speaking, I think Devil Shield's one of the worst artifacts in the game for Abyss. However, Leos made it work. I thought it was absolutely phenomenal because at level 30, you gain 90% damage reduction when below 5% max HP, gain 50% damage reduction, and below 15% of max HP, share 25% of the damage taken by all allies. The reason why this is so terrible because it's such a hard strategy to master. However, in this specific case, now I don't know if it was like, that 1 or 2% chance of him just getting lucky, or if it was like an 80 or 90% chance of him just slaughtering Exodia. I do not know. I only watched it once, so I really couldn't analyze. I don't know what artifacts everyone else had. I just know he had the maxed out Devil Shield on him. So long story short, for those who don't know, when it comes to a Lionheart link, long story short, he severs the link with everyone with a protection link, creates Lionheart link, and if they're about to take fatal damage, he absorbs it, and then he absorbs all the damage. So let's say your Sophia is targeting poor Selena in the back row. Well, he'll establish Lionheart link. Instead of Sophia taking out poor Selena, all the damage that's supposed to go to her will go to Ruth Carve. Can we just call him Ruth Cave? You know, Ruth Cave it is. I don't care. Ruth Cave. So, so with that Devil Shield, just imagine a maxed out Sophia only doing, 500,000 to 1 million damage. I was like, yo. And it was like 3, 4, 5, 6 times. I'm like, yo, he's putting that Devil Shield to work. Like, dude, that strategy, I was so impressed. I swear, I was like, dude, this dude's got to be a Devin Disguise. So he's got to be a Diddy. A Devin Disguise. What you think, But it really, shed light on maybe some of these artifacts aren't that bad if used in specific scenarios. And Gate Overlord, Ruth Cave, is one of those heroes where if you use correct, you could definitely dominate the battlefield and decimate Exodia.
Now it's time to throw the cold water at you. Now it's time to bring some future reality to this conversation. While it was an absolutely phenomenal strategy, I feel like the new Berserk runes are going to be able to counter that beautiful strategy. And like I said, this has been doing with Hero Clash for, going on 2 years now. And so we'll see what you guys come up with in the future strategy-wise. I can't wait, man. I love watching, new strategies. I've had a few games where I've slaughtered, Exodia with Natalie, and it was a pure damage reduction type strategy where Exodia just couldn't do anything. I just kept getting damage reduction, increase. However, once someone becomes aware of your great strategy, it's very easy for them to put the counter on that. And you pretty much just go back and forth until you get higher and higher and higher. And next thing you know, like, oh man, I need the Berserk, yo! I need the Berserk runes.
And I'm highly looking forward to this week's Crucible with Leos and him again. Like I said, to give credit where credit is due, we have Leos and then we have good old Ultima. He keeps quit switching your name up, bro. Go back to the OGs, hands down. So we have Leo versus Ultima, and it's going to be one awesome fight. I can't wait to see the results. And yeah, so shout out to them, and you guys should really change your name back to Most Wanted. Actually, that's one thing I'm going to talk about in this video right now. So when it comes to server merges, there's a lot of people who, joined other unions, and some unions actually changed their name after having a history of being at the top of the leaderboards since day one. I remember when I first joined, Most Wanted messaged me like, hey, Trin, do you want to join? I'm like, nope, you're my enemy. I knew that from day one, that they need competition. And that's what I did for a whole year. And then after the server merge, they changed to Infamous Ostriches. No, Infamous Outlaws. And I don't know, a part of me lost competitiveness when that happened. I look at it as the equivalent of, let's say a country decides to become an ally with the United States, right? Let's say there's no allies right now in the world. The United States and Japan becoming an ally, but the United States says, hey, we want you to be called the United State of Japan. It just, what about their history? What about the history? And I think that's one topic that I really wanted to talk about. I just didn't have time. But, part of the competition dies when everyone's called the same name. Especially, I don't know about everyone else's server, but I know my group server of 101 through 150, you have 3 IOs, and then you have 2 HRs, which is formerly, Hit Squad. And then you have my union, which is called the Elite. However, I do have a legit excuse. The reason why I went from the Elite Empire to the Elite is because on YouTube, we have the Elite Empire. And whenever I would address one of them, everyone would get confused, like, yo, which one are you addressing? The Elite Empire YouTube or the Elite Empire Union? So I'm like, I need to switch this, man. It's getting, as the Elite Empire grows, I had to switch it. So that's the literal reason. However, I still kept the word Elite. And it would be cool to see all these unions partner up and still be their original name. I vote for that. I think it would bring back the competition because currently I really don't care about competition anymore because it's just not fun. You know, when you have one union that's just named everything and then other unions take note, you know, where is your individuality at? That's how I look at it. Be you. What makes us great is who we are and who we were, and taking that knowledge from the past into the present, into the future. Why change your name from something so monumental, you know?
Yeah, there was just something super special about looking forward to a server merge or a union merge or a server increase to where you could look at the Crucible or, you know, just other servers in general and be like, whoa, enemy number one, they're shredding over there, yo. Or most wanted, they're shredding over there, yo. Or looking at, you know, the bottom servers like, yo, order of light between, 50 and 100, whatever. They're dominating right now. And to see all these unions just disappear into, you know, one union called the same things with just a letter and number switched up, I don't know, it really just takes away from, you know, their history, you know. And if this keeps happening, you know, next thing you know, you're just going to have 1 or 2 or 3 unions out of the whole dang game. And at the end, well, nobody wins. Like, what is the goal? In my personal opinion, I think what would make it better if there's actual competition. You know, having a union versus union and then having partners, you know, as in example, you know, Most Wanted versus enemy number one, and they're in the Summit Clash, they go against each other, but even though they're still partnered up together, you know, there's just so much you could do that would be, you know, fun with unions, but it just doesn't happen, which, you know, it is what it is, it's cool, but if it was up to me, man, don't worry, I gave some ingredients to Hero.
That's just my 3 cents. Now, you can do whatever you want, however. But yeah, the Elite is here. We're here to stay at the very first level 6 union. Who's going to be second? Doesn't matter who's going to be second. But with that being said, moving on to the last 2 Elite requests we have is Soy says, I want the best rune combination for S Plus series. Man, this is an extremely loaded question, so this is going to be on a separate episode of itself. And moving on to Cloudy, he says, I want a Summit Clash / Hero Clash meta video. Yes. Now, the Summit Clash video was supposed to come tomorrow. I'm actually going to have to postpone it to Monday or Tuesday because instead of just sitting here talking, I do want to go over, you know, it live. You know, I want to be able to walk through it live, and I'm going to be recording the next Summit Clash. So expect that video to come next week, Monday. Actually, next week, Wednesday, 100% guaranteed, without a shadow of a doubt. Nothing's going to get in the way with it. Hero Clash can be mentioned like, hey, Trin, we need a video Wednesday. No! Summit Clash! But yeah, hopefully y'all enjoyed the video. Elite Request episode 2 in the books! And I can't wait for episode 3, which is going to be Summit Clash, and then episode 4 is going to be the other topics. I'm thinking for August or September, we might do Elite Request perk again. We'll see. With that being said, greatness manifested.